And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RT-58 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening. You are taking a live look right now at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, where SpaceX is set to launch a Falcon 9 rocket. And of course, this isn't your ordinary Starlink because it's not a Starlink mission. This is actually a customer payload. We'll get into the details that we can of that in a little bit. But first, I am Zoe Rosenstein. I will be your host for today's launch broadcast. I love seeing all the 5x5s, meaning that you can hear me. And of course, we are reading everything you say in chat. And it's not just me that you'll have to hear droning on. It is also Adrian Bile joining me. Adrian, how's it going?
Absolutely wonderful. Already a flame trench behind me. Then we just had Twiz. And now it's another Falcon 9 with a customer payload. So I would call this quite a busy day at NSF.
Yes, the NSF unofficial holiday marathon, starting off with the flame trench onto twists, and now for the launch. We'll also have Max Evans joining us shortly from the field. Max, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much, everyone, for having me. And it is quite the interesting night here on Florida Space Coast. But Adrian, I feel like I was just hearing your voice over on the Flame Trench just a few minutes ago. Good to see you again.
Absolutely, it's a fun time here. So
Yes.
Sawyer, it's a weird launch.
Yes, it is. This is the RRT-1 mission. And guess what RRT-1 stands for? No, literally, chat, guess, because we have absolutely no idea what the official designation is. But, Adrian, there are a lot of hints that tell us what this mission likely is. Do you want to help delve into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this mission is a bit of a puzzle finding mission because the official name is RRT-1, and the funny thing is, not even on the SpaceX website, there's actually a reference what RRT-1 stands for. The most likely answer is that it stands for retroreflective target 1. We will get to why it is called that way. However, what this mission is based on what we have seen, based on the NOTAMs, the not Mars, the trajectory, everything that we can basically look at this mission. It is very similar to previous GPS missions. To be exact, it is very similar to the GPS 3.6 mission, which launched in January 2023. So, why is it not called that way? You know, GPS is a bit of a classified hush-hush kind of payload that sometimes is not fully named. That's why this is so far not named as well. However, it is very, very likely that we are talking about another entry for the GPS. The GPS system. So, why retroreflective target 1? The GPS-3 satellites carry some additional payload from NASA, which is basically a space instrument, the reflector, that will allow NASA to perform range measurements with these satellites on the sub-centimeter level using special satellite laser ranging equipments. These kind of reflective devices are most likely installed on these GPS 310 payloads. And that's why this mission most likely is called that. So it's kind of called by a secondary thing that it does, but it's not really the primary thing because most likely on top of this rocket there's a GPS satellite.
Right, and if that's the case, this would likely be GPS-3 SV, standing for Space Vehicle 10, which
Yes.
for some reason also has the nickname Hedy Lamarr. And, well, I guess that's Headley for all the Blazing Saddles fans out there. So one thing that we absolutely know for certain, though, at least, Adrian, is what booster is flying this mission and the scheduled landing for it.
Absolutely. It's B1085. B1085 will perform its fourth flight on this mission. And now, well, not right now, it will stay that way. The landing is scheduled for a shortfall of gravitas. B1085, so far a fairly young career, just launching 2 Starlings so far, and of course, Crew 9. So that's the booster for today's mission. And again, it's expected to be a medium Earth orbit launch with about a launch mass of 4 tons. So that's somewhere in the need a drone ship landing kind of territory.
Yeah, if it is, which we're pretty darn certain, but if it is the GPS satellite. Also,
if
I do appreciate, let's see, right, tight. We've got the really ridiculous terminology. I agree with that one. Rock and roll tunes. Rockets are really trampolines. That's an interesting take that is a little bit of a stretch of the acronym. Random rocket trinkets? That could be. Yes, it's totally launching some random trinkets. I like these.
I heard that there's potentially, so I'm not sure if we have Max, but I'm just curious. That's why I'm pushing this conversation in that direction, Sawyer, because there's some iffiness with the weather a bit. Like the liftoff winds are potentially a 20% concern. There's also some booster recovery weather in place, so I wonder if Max has like an impression from the Cape. Like, is windy?
It is indeed windy, very much so. The weather so far this evening has certainly been a worthy opponent, I guess you could say. Clouds have been coming in and out of the Cape all evening. A pretty strong gust of wind are consistently coming over from the Atlantic. I think just over 18 knots is what the current advisory is here at the Kennedy Space Center, which is where we currently are. And also, it has been spitting rain here and there as well. So it has not exactly been, dare I say, friendly this evening. I know the 45th Weather Squadron predicted only a 20% probability of violation this evening, which seems low given what my Mark 1 eyeballs can see right now with the clouds and the wind and potentially more rain. But we have seen Falcon 9 fly in much worse weather, so you never know.
Yeah, and also while that's up on the screen, it is worth noting the additional risk criteria there. You can see highlighted in yellow, the booster recovery weather condition is considered moderate. So there's low, moderate, and then it gets to moderate. So smack dab in the middle, but we shall see. And worth noting, again, there technically is a launch window. Adrian, do we know if this is the window with the sub windows within the windows?
They just delayed by 1 minute. So the initial, they're no longer targeting the opening of the window for this one. They are targeting a bit later, which is now I think 8:05. I mean, they never targeted actually the actual opening of the window because technically the window opens at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. They always targeted I think 8:03 or 8:04, and now they're at 8:05. And the window closes at 10 p.m. Eastern. However, it's a classified-ish payload. So, you know, Sawyer, you have seen many Deltas, many Atlas fly, many Falcons classified payload fly. The actual window might be something else.
Yeah, that is true. Again, this is all going off of the public knowledge that we do have from SpaceX websites, from documentation filed with the FAA, no TAMs, not Mars. So that's also what they send to mariners. There's a lot of things that go into it. And yeah, so if you have any questions that we can answer that aren't classified, you can tag us at NASA Spaceflight, and we will see them in the software back here and do our best to answer as many of them as we can, all while, I forgot to mention, Jay Keegan brings you these phantasmagorical views onto your screen from the Cape. And as Chris B calls it, earthquake cam, but as I call it, a perfect indication of what the weather actually is cam.
I mean, as Max said, Falcon 9 has launched in worse, but it also has scrubbed in better. So it's always, I mean, 20% of chance of violation is 20% chance of violation, right? It's basically you're going into this countdown and there's 1/5 of a chance that you won't launch today. Probably higher, as you pointed out, because of the recovery weather not being included in the any chance of violation. So probably somewhere like there's at least a decent sized chance today that this will be in a bit of an iffy countdown. And of course, we also have to stand by here if they even will go into fueling at the target they are saying.
Yep, and again, the go for fueling usually is approximately around the T-minus 40-minute mark is when we get the indication whether they will proceed with fueling or not.
Yep.
Here's a question from Soul Productions, also with the super chat asking it. Max, stubby nozzle, yay or nay?
You know, along with the topic of secrecy that has plagued this mission, I guess for all of us who want to know, I presume no, given the probable payload weight and of course where it's going up to medium Earth orbit, and of course maybe if there was enough performance to bring the booster back here to LZ1 or LZ2, maybe that would warrant it. But with the current mission constraints, I doubt we will see a stubby nozzle on the upper stage tonight.
Yeah, apologies to the stubby fans, but given the mass going to medium Earth orbit, it's probably not, if I had to guess as well.
Yeah, it's quite demanding. I mean, it's only 4 tons. Falcon 9 has launched much heavier things, but it's a MEO, right? It's a medium of orbit, so you have to have more energy in your second stage. There's more yeet that is performed. It's in general a more high energy orbit, which means you need more energy to conserve for the payload, which means you have less energy to perform certain things, such as an RTLS, which we don't see today, and most likely also a stubby nozzle, because stubby nozzle is less efficient, means you also lose potential energy that you cannot use for your satellite.
I do like that yeet is now the official unit of measurement for this. How much yeet power it has.
I mean, it's in a weird way, right? It's this thing where you have a budget. You have, I don't know, you have 100 points. Call it 100 points for every launch. That's the performance of Falcon 9. And then your satellite consumes a certain amount of points. Maybe for Starlink, it's, I don't know, 80. And then you need 20 for the landing. So, and sometimes the satellite only consumes 60. Then you can bring in a stubby nozzle, or you can RTLS, because RTLS maybe takes you 30 points. That's how I see it. Like it's basically a game of you have a certain amount of points.
I like to see the unit. It's half of a bird. Asking how many yeets in a delta V, and if kilo yeets are a thing as well.
I mean, you could, right?
I mean, technically you could, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what Grok or ChatGPT says. I'm sure someone will look it up.
Yeah.
One other thing that you mentioned that I do want to bring up is the fact, in terms of the landing, it will be landing on a drone ship. If all the numbers that I'm seeing are correct here, this is an historic attempt, as this will be the 400th Falcon recovery attempt. I don't know about you, AJ, but that just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, most rockets don't make it to 400 flights. Falcon 9 makes it to 400 landing attempts. So it's an historic rocket in every sense of the way. It's record breaking. It will continue to shatter records. It's absolutely insane. I mean, this is the second one today.
Yeah, we had one earlier out of Vandenberg right at the top of the flame trench that was thankfully successful. Now, I got to ask you, Max, because you're out there for all these different launches and everything. Do you even remember a time before these landing attempts, now that we're at 400 of them?
Max is speechless.
Oh, beyond speechless.
One more time, Sawyer. Sorry about that. I was juggling some camera stuff. What's up?
No, it's fine. I was saying that with this being the 400th recovery attempt of a Falcon vehicle, I mean, do you even remember a time without these attempts and just being there for all these launches? How has it evolved?
I mean, at this point, it's similar to aviation now, as crazy as it is to say. I mean, we don't remember individual flights leaving out of Orlando, do we? I mean, SpaceX is flying so often now, and that's their goal, by the way. Like, they want to fly as often as possible and daily in the future with Starship. It's been very, very difficult to keep up with the pace of progress unless you're like super into the stuff like us nerds are. A lot of it honestly blends in, but it's so difficult to keep track. I mean, of course, we all recall like the very early attempts of the first drone ship landings and the first landings at LZ-1, LZ-2, Falcon Heavy demo flight with the first double LZ landing. But after that, especially with the amount of Starship missions that have flown to this point and are going to fly next year, it's become more difficult to pinpoint an individual mission in your mind unless something spectacular happens, or say you are plagued with just awful weather, which makes it all the more memorable because that's the one you had to battle bad weather for to get set up for. So TLDR, it all blends in. It all blends in, but honestly, if that's what SpaceX wants to do, then I am all here for it.
Yeah, because for me, it sticks out. I remember watching the first LZ-1 successful landing on that first attempt. I was watching it when I was in Tallahassee on this big TV and just screaming with happiness. And then I was there for CRS-8, which was the first drone ship landing. And one of my favorite photos I've ever taken was of a SpaceX employee watching the live stream and just seeing their reaction on their face when it landed successfully on the drone ship for that mission. Max, you and I were both there for Falcon Heavy with the dual landings, which was mind-boggling again that these all worked pretty darn close to the first tries. It's crazy to believe that now it's just, and another landing, and another one. Oh, there's 3 boosters in port.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can all recall back, like you were saying, CRS-8, Orbcom 2, the first ever successful landing of a Falcon 9 booster. Again, Falcon Heavy demo. Like, we can all recall these milestone missions, but they have flown so much that it all blends in. But honestly, that isn't a bad thing, considering what SpaceX wants to do with daily flights with Starship and near daily flights with Falcon 9 here in the next few years. So it's just the pace of progress, folks.
Exactly. And Max, you were saying that the 20% chance of violation seems a little low. Well, it has been updated. According to SpaceX, less than 1 hour to the launch, teams are keeping an eye on weather, which is now 50% favorable for liftoff.
That's a lot more accurate.
Yeah, that wording like seems so much more positive than it is because it just the chance of liftoff just decreased by 30%. Right.
But again, like we have seen Falcon 9 in much worse conditions than we had tonight. Yes, it's not ideal. I mean, the cloud ceiling isn't that low. It's probably about medium height. I couldn't give you a height number, but the moon is just peeking through. We are getting some moonlight in, so it will undoubtedly be incredibly bright here tonight as the light bounces off the clouds and bounces back onto here. It's going to be a very bright one tonight. But we have seen Falcon 9 fly with less than 10% chance of favorable weather before. So this is nothing to be all that worried about, at least to this point yet.
Yeah, and I've seen weather scrubs at 80%. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. It's always the problem is there's some criterias, of course, that we cannot fully gauge. I mean, liftoff winds is the easy one because we have Max there. Like Max can feel wind. So
it's windy.
It's windy. But of course, it starts to get harder with cumulus clouds because it's dark out there, right? Max will have a hard time, for example, looking through clouds. And booster recovery weather, we have no idea.
Yeah, those are, again, for booster recovery weather, it literally just is moderate. Doesn't say why it's moderate, it's just moderate.
I
But
mean,
one thing,
if you
go-
wanted to really nerd out about it, you could pull up the buoy data for where roughly the drone ships are and see what the swells are at and when the wave height's at and the winds. That might give you a better idea of what those drone ships and full recovery teams are battling out there with the seas. But yeah, as far as the forecast goes, we just have low, moderate, or high in terms of the risk factors. But we should be coming up. We're at T-minus 38 minutes and change. So we are actually coming up here on the go, no-go poll for prop load, hopefully, which will begin in, let's see, about 3.5 minutes. I mean, this is pretty much the make or break point tonight, folks.
and that's a
Yeah,
perfect chance to take a look at tonight's countdown timeline. Thank you for the transition, Max. That was perfect.
I'm here to please.
So yeah, as mentioned, they'll be doing the go no go poll for propellant load, and if they are go, they will give the official verification for it within the next approximately 15 seconds or so. As mentioned, this being a semi-classified detail to this, we don't have a to the second T0. We will keep an eye on the T-minus 20-minute vent, and that will give us a much better indication of the exact T0. But we should get that go for propellant load, hopefully, and if so, at T-minus 35 minutes, they will start loading in the rocket propellant 1, the RP-1, the refined form of kerosene, as well as the LOX, the liquid oxygen, into stage 1. Meanwhile, it will just be the RP-1 loading into stage 2 until that T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, which is when they chill down the LOX lines, as you see on our timeline there.
We should
So
also mention, by the way, about GPS, because I see some people being like, oh, why classified, right? It's GPS. I have that on my car navigation. Well, there's two things here that you have to consider. Yes, the global positioning system, the GPS, has public appliances. There's basically a whole bunch of commercial users around the world. It's a huge commercial user base. However, the military also uses this for critical positioning capabilities. So there's next to this, there's also a whole military range of GPS that is also involved in this constellation. So while most of it, or some sort of it, is commercial, there are military applications. At the moment, and after all this, the operator of all of this is the US Space Force. So they don't want to give away everything about this. It's not as classified as some other payloads, but they're certainly also not as open as others. Let's word it like that. It's like semi-classified.
Yeah, because Tim W. has the great question. Will we know for sure what the satellite is once it's in orbit? And if so, what's the point of trying to keep it a secret? So, how do we actually figure out where these spacecraft's final orbits are?
Good question. First off, usually these are tracked. There's satellites are tracked usually, and there's databases where you can check where satellites are. So we will see if it enters characteristic orbital parameters of GPS. Also, in retrospect, they're often confirmed. They're just not confirmed during the exact launch. Probably to avoid stuff like, I don't know, placing a satellite near them when they deploy and stuff like that. Because that's a capabilities that people, and especially governments, have in space. So there's basically some avoidance while they're deployed, but once they're in orbit, it's not really that secret anymore. They get designation after that.
Yeah, and there's plenty of orbital police as well, i.e. Jonathan McDowell and others, that track where all of these are once they go into orbit. And many vehicles that are not meant to be tracked, like, let's say, X-37B, still somehow manages to get tracked.
Yeah, it's usually a matter of you don't want them to be tracked during deployment. That's the phase where they really don't want to be tracked. Yeah, it's a thing.
Indeed it is. And it's also a thing? People helping to support us here at NSF so that we can bring you these live views and have 2 streams and a new video in a single day. Daniel Whitehouse, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Steve Fleetwood upgrading to launch director. Wow. Thank you for the generous level of support there. So you get Capcom access, which is the access to our NSF Discord. You also get your name at the end of NSF Lives and Flame Trenches and things like that. So thank you. And potentially a reserved parking spot. Where? You'll find out. And Deborah Alman, thank you for becoming a PadRat member as well. Also, Samuel Scott Wildland, clarifying, fun fact, the yeet scale is logarithmic.
I mean, in a weird way, it is, right? There's certainly the further you go, the more heavy some penalties become, and especially in the weight. So it's a thing.
Yeah, and I saw someone ask earlier if the acceleration is a yeet, would the deceleration be a bosh?
That went over my head.
I think it's a UK thing, like bish bash bosh, but
Oh,
yeah.
Somebody paying Crispy for that.
Yes, we need Crispy to ask the spaceflight official to clarify. Let's see here. Here's a question from JR, and I'll throw this one to you, Adrian. Any word on a rocket lab launch tonight at Wallops? Because SpaceX isn't the only one yeeting, hopefully, tonight.
Yeah, the Electron Stonehenge mission, which is another HASTE payload, which is expected in, let me see, 28 minutes from now. Of course, since it's HASTE, these are the hypersonic accelerator demos. So it's suborbital flight. Electron doesn't cover these in a usual way. So we will have to wait for confirmation. My last update was it is absolutely still on track, but we will have to wait if the provider confirms.
Yes, and in case you're wondering, HASTE is indeed an acronym for the Hypersonic Accelerator Suborbital Test Electron.
Yep,
Because
it's
of course it
suborbital. Yep, it's a suborbital launch that basically utilizes Electron as a suborbital launch vehicle.
Such a weird thought. Imagine using Falcon 9 as a suborbital vehicle. Just saying. That sounds too weird.
I mean, they did for the in-flight abort demo.
Well, technically, yeah. That booster also ended up getting destroyed, but yeah.
Yes.
Which, again, shout out to Das on a boat catching the actual explosion. Amazing detail. Great reaction as it went behind a single cloud at the press site right during the kaboom. But I'm not still mad at that at all. It's fine.
So we had 31 minutes, and so Jay is saying in back channel he might see frost, and I share that. It's hard to see, but I think I saw some puffs of condensation.
I would have to agree with you, Adrian. I think I see a little bit there on the bottom of the LOX tank.
Yeah, there's like some very slight puffs, which is like these new boosters are even harder because they're still very wide. But I think you can see like some slight puffs of condensation there in the very zoomed view, like on the right side. Look on the right side of the booster. You can see like almost like a cloud forming there.
That absolutely looks like a little bit of frost towards the bottom there.
Definitely.
Yep.
Well, there we go. With about 30 minutes to go, it appears as if they are going for their 8:05-ish T0. We'll get an exact T0 as we get a little bit closer once we get a T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent. Again, SpaceX being on the slightly vague side with this mission, RRT-1, which every single indicator points to this being the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 10 launch, and continuing the GPS satellite network that started back in 1978. GPS-3, of course, though, starting a little bit more recently than that, which deals not only with the navigation, it also helps with coordination and time as well. So all of that hopefully lifting off in about 30 minutes aboard this Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 40. Per SpaceX weather, though, 50%.
What I don't like about the 50%, by the way, is the trend. Usually, at least that's my. So this is a total subjective feeling, but usually I feel like if weather is trending better, there's a higher chance. Like it always feels like launches where the weather is decreasing have an even higher chance to scrub than launches where the chance is still the same, but it's an increasing chance. So when it went from like 20% go to 50% go, I would be more hopeful than right now where it went from 80% go to 50% go because the chance is decreasing. You know what I mean?
He said the word. I'm going to pretend he didn't. Scrub it from my mind. He didn't say the S word. Everything's going to be fine.
You just say it again, Sawyer, though.
Well, I just said the S word.
He just said the S word. It's sword.
Didn't he say scrub that from my mind? Isn't that what you said?
Oh, and now you said it.
Oh no, that was not intentional.
I said it because you said it in that context. I'm not using that in the context of the launch.
Oh, that wasn't even an intentional pun. Dang.
All three commentators now have to set the bad S word.
Shoot.
we are doomed, folks. We are doomed.
Yeah, this is it. This is it.
Well, good to know that my my puns have literally rubbed off on everyone, including myself, even forgetting.
Yeah, you're not punning on autopilot.
It depends. Is this Flight Simulator 2024? Because if so, then we're in trouble. Anyway, continuing along here. Here's a quick one that I can answer that I saw from DJW. Saying, why does the shuttle Atlantis have 2 Canadarms, or SRMs, at the KSC Visitor Complex? And when's the next shuttle Sunday? Next shuttle Sunday is to be determined. Let me answer the Atlantis question first. So that one of them is a Canadarm. The other is called the OBSS. That is the Orbiter Boom Sensor System. So following the Columbia disaster, as a way to continue to check underneath the tiles, they added basically an extender to the Canadarm that it can grab onto, has a special sensor that runs all the way under the belly of the shuttle along the leading edges of the wing, and was able to beam back higher end and specialized imagery of the tiles to make sure everything was intact and safe for reentry. So that's why you've got the Canadarm, which you can walk under and see the grabby part, the end effector, and the other one is the OBSS there. As for the next shuttle Sunday, that is to be determined. The next one is a little bit of a tough one. That's STS-51L Challenger. So we want to make sure that when we do it right. So we're taking a little extra time to make sure that we do the justice it deserves. And it's also worth noting, by the way, that the museum show that is coming up has a similar tone, but looking at what can be learned from it. We had the one of the astronauts who helped following the Columbia disaster in 2003, discussing with them a new book that was out called Mission Out of Control, An Astronaut's Odyssey to Fix High-Risk Organizations and Prevent Tragedy. So stay tuned to the end. We will actually automatically redirect you to that, so you can set a reminder to watch it at the end of this stream. Let's see. We haven't really we briefly mentioned it, but Max, what's the trajectory for this one?
So as far as we can tell, it is going to be heading northeast today on its medium Earth orbit trajectory. So it's always a treat to see a northeast flight path here from Slick 40, especially from the press site, because normally for, say, a Starlink Group 6 mission, when it's flying southeast, it's flying away from us. But today, with it flying northeast from Slick 40, we will get a nice side profile all the way up, providing that the clouds play nice, which, I don't want to jinx it, guys, but there looks to be a really big hole opening up in the clouds, and the moon is starting to shine through, so the skies might be trending in the right direction for us tonight.
It's all right. All three of us already jinxed it anyway, so might as well say it.
This is the craziest. Like, we are basically performing a ritual of jinxing at this point. It's
Is there a ritual to unjinx it?
I think it's just keep jinxing it. Eventually, it's like double negatives. Eventually, it'll undo itself.
No, you will get what is so-called delta, which is a scrub and then a 6-month delay.
Also a great rocket, by the way.
Also a great rocket. Was a great rocket.
Well, Adrian.
Which I believe it was just 3 days ago that we had the anniversary of NROL 44, the Delta you're talking about, where it lit its engines in July, had to scrub after engine ignition, which meant they had to replace a whole lot of things on the rocket, and I believe they did 7 more countdown starts. Sometimes they scrubbed before they got into fuel load, but the countdown was resumed 7 additional times until it finally launched, yes, in mid-December 2020. So that was a long one.
That was a painful one for sure. I have very stark and very painful memories from that one.
Yeah. Me too. Let's see. Here's a question that I find really interesting. We are getting towards the end of the year. Caitlin's wondering, is SpaceX on track, Adrian, to reach their goal of 144 flights this year?
This is the moment where I have to, at least for a second, open something here.
I'm guessing it's the spreadsheet.
That's correct. So, this will be flight number 131. This is I think the honest answer is no. It's gonna be rather tight. Probably no, if I'm not completely mistaken here. So if I count correctly, we might end up somewhere around maybe like 39-ish, 38. But they might just miss the goal, like just a tad.
So are they then going to tack this on, you think, like they did last time? The reason it's 144 is because they added on the launches they were just short last year. So you think that next year is going to be, like, what, 154?
I mean, they just announced that they're preparing an environmental assessment to launch 100 times a year from Vandenberg. So, yeah, I feel like they will have time to catch up.
Yeah. Also, for all the EJ fans out there, 154, 154. So, yeah.
154.
Yes. Yes, Max, I knew you were awesome getting the reference
Dude,
there.
I was watching that when I was like a very young kid. Like, I love that documentary.
Oh, it's so brilliant. For those who don't know, it's a test that they do for the wing flex. I believe that was a 777.
That was for the Boeing 777 when I was brand new in the early 90s.
Yeah, and it's a wing flex test to the percentage that it's supposed to be able to go to. So they flexed it to 154% and it snapped. And they just show the replays where you hear the guy going 154, 154. Sorry, it's brilliant.
No, it's brilliant. It's on the... No, go ahead.
No, you were going to... I think we were about to do the same exact thing, which, you know what else is brilliant is our favorite vent coming up in approximately 15-ish seconds. We will keep a close eye on this because this should give us a better indication of the exact T0 that they are targeting. Because right now we know it's 805 and question mark seconds. So we should be able to narrow it down with this 20-minute, 20-second vent, which, Adrian, what does this vent do?
Yeah, absolutely. In contrast to the first stage, on the second stage, they are basically loading propellants kind of one by one. So they first load second stage RP1, and then at T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds, they wrap up that RP1 load on the second stage and transition to a second stage LOX load. And to condition these lines and basically get ready to load that liquid oxygen into the second stage. They are starting a purge down at 20 minutes and 20 seconds, which goes down until 16 minutes, where the second stage LOX load begins. And then they're topping off that second stage and getting ready to launch. And I have not spotted it yet, but it's also hard to see.
Yes, it was totally not you trying to stretch it out so that we were continuing
No.
to talk about it until the event happens, and then we could say that we've seen it, but we're totally still not doing that at this point as we wait for the 20-minute event, maybe?
So I don't.
I don't like the look of this.
Adrian, I don't like the tone of your voice right now.
Should I already bring you probably what this means, or do you want some more hope for a few seconds until I tell you what this probably means?
I'm pretty sure all three of us have said the word already.
Yeah. So there's some wiggle room because, of course, we don't know the exact moment they have started the countdown, but the fact that we have not seen this event is a very, 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 very likely indicator that this mission just scrubbed.
So basically, it's about as likely as this actually being the GPS-3 SV10 mission with a different name. Is what we're
Yes.
kind of saying.
Yes, absolutely. It's that I
Where it's
honestly
not a
at
million
this
percent confirmed, but it's like almost 1,000,000%.
if at this point we change the clock to scrubbed, I would almost feel like it's not 100, it's 99%, but this will. Yeah, awaiting UT0 is a nice way to word it.
Except for the fact that they already began prop load, so the new T0 would have to be probably tomorrow with the window opening at 7:59 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, with the fact that they have already loaded prop load and we are now 3 minutes past what we have expected, this very much we are 100% sure they were in prop load. We could clearly see condensation, and I'm refreshing websites and everything.
Well, hey, Rocket Lab is
But-
still currently scheduled to launch in like 15 minutes.
Yeah, so I have a confirmation. I have a confirmation for your thing. Because the SpaceX stream that was scheduled to start on X has just been delayed to tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's official. We have to
yeah.
actually say the word this time. That is a scrub. That is the end of the launch attempt for today. A reminder for tomorrow, the weather forecast is, again, a more reasonable 60% go. So that's a 40% chance of violation due to cumulus cloud rules and liftoff winds. However, booster recovery weather is listed at a high additional risk criteria. And there it is. It still says targeting 805, but we know that the backup opportunity, as you see there, would be starting at 7:59 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. So 24 hours and 10 minutes, essentially, from right now.
Yep.
Oh.
It's a thing. It's a thing. I mean, we kind of made it happen. Honestly, this is on us.
I can't believe I said scrub it from my brain. That was not even intentional.
Doesn't have to be.
I know.
Yeah, this is. I mean, let's be real. Max, Sawyer, this one is on us.
Yeah, all three of us said it.
Oh, it's more like on you two.
You also said it.
I was just repeating what I heard. It wasn't in the context of the launch. That's my argument, and I'm sticking to it.
Mine wasn't for the context of the launch either.
I mean, you have all seen which day we have today, right? This launch was cursed from the beginning.
Yes, today is Friday the 13th. You are correct. Which, happy birthday, Alex, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Alex.
Everybody spam chat. Everyone spam chat. Everyone spam chat, please, for Alex.
Yes. I mean, technically he got a candle, oddly out of Vandenberg. God, that feels wrong. Oh, boy. Oh, Alex in chat just, oh, geez. Anyway.
Okay, I guess we're doing this again tomorrow.
I guess we are. Max, will we have you back out in the field tomorrow?
Oh, of course. I will be here until it goes, folks. Wow. Words are hard tonight, I guess.
Actually,
Yeah.
you're allowed to go home until it launches tomorrow again. Like, you don't have to camp out.
Adrian, I have to stay in this exact same spot until it launches. I can't move.
That's dedication.
I'm just kidding.
I was going to say NSF Mags win. Adrian, thank you for coming out for this one, staying all the way on through the flame trench.
Yeah, that was fun. Was a fun show, and also shoutouts to members because we had like a thing running for this stream where members could see me commentating, which is a new experience here for me. So this was fun to do. So thanks.
Comment above.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, members.
And Jake Keegan, thank you for pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, bringing us different cameras, different assets, different split screens, and making us all happy by seeing rockets, even if they're still on the ground. A reminder, as mentioned, coming up this Sunday, a very special Intrepid Museum show about astronauts whose goal it was, after losing their friends in the Columbia disaster, to make sure something like that never happens again in spaceflight. Stay until the end of the intro. It'll automatically redirect you, and that way you can set that notification to be reminded when they go live. But we will be back for the next attempt, and hopefully you will join us for then. I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I have been your host for this attempt, and we will see you for the next one.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, with planet.
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting outside of speed off. Bring in SV10 off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yeah,